Hello everyone. It's been a while since my last video, so I thought I'd use this special day to get back into video format discussions. So today is World Homeopathy Day, which I think should have been on April 1st, but unfortunately it is today. And there is a lot that we need to discuss with homeopathy, because when you look at all the types of treatments that are available to people, of course, scientific medicine, modern medicine is the conventional standardized treatment. But then among alternative medicine, homeopathy is the most popular and it's gaining popularity. But also, people are also understanding that how homeopathy is not a real medical science, and how homeopathy practitioners are actually not real doctors who can diagnose or treat patients and their conditions effectively. So, homeopathy is basically a pseudo belief system that started in the 1800s, because at the time the standard medicine that was given to patients were very crude and cruel. So someone decided that we need to soften things up, lighten things up a bit, and he went overboard, and thus homeopathy was born. But I am here not to talk about how homeopathy was born, or what are the principles of homeopathy. We all know about it. I mean, those principles are not scientific. They defy every laws of physics and chemistry, and they are not biologically even possible. So what I am here to say is that there are some people who consider homeopathy safe, and there is this myth that goes on about homeopathy, which says that homeopathy has no side effect because there is no effect, because there are no actual active molecules inside the homeopathy formulation, so there is nothing to worry. So whatever placebo effect that we can get from that, let's enjoy it. But I think this is wrong, because ideally, classically, if you look at homeopathy, yes, homeopathy formulations are heavily diluted to such an extent that the starting molecule ceases to exist in the final product, and you only have the vehicle that is used to dilute the molecules or the compound. So basically, the vehicle can be anywhere from water to sugar solutions or even alcohol. So most commonly what they do is use alcohol, and there is nothing known as a neutral alcohol like what homeopaths try to deceive us. There is nothing called neutral alcohol. The alcohol that they use is ethanol, which is ethyl alcohol, which is the alcohol that people consume, and the strengths that they use are very high. For example, imagine a bottle of vodka is about 40% volume by volume alcohol. You can actually see that homeopathic formulations in the form of mother tinctures can even go up to 90% volume by volume. And that is what they dilute and give. Sometimes they don't dilute and give. It depends on the whims and fancies of the homeopath. Because there is no set protocols or principles to actually practice homeopathy. Everything is dependent on the practitioner and what they make out of what the patient has, feels, or there is no diagnosis per se. So the whole point of homeopathy, no effect, no side effect, has been thoroughly debunked, because there are a lot of studies which show that homeopathic formulations can cause severe adverse events, starting from allergies to organ damage to liver failures to poisonings to cardiac diseases and even sudden cardiac death. These are well documented. You can look at Professor Edzard Ernst publication on this from decades before. And we have recently also published a lot on how homeopathic formulations can also injure the liver, the bone marrow, and the kidneys. And this is because the thought that homeopathy is a very dilute formulation was actually debunked by us, or rather it was debunked much before also, but in a large series of patients we did it. We showed that a lot of these formulations, especially proprietary formulations, proprietary means those formulations, homeopathy formulations, are actually made by the manufacturer. The homeopathy company that makes it decides what they want to make out of a lot of herbs and alcohol that is available at the time for them. And these proprietary formulations are targeted mostly for symptomatic relief. They do not actually do anything for the disease per se. But most of these proprietary formulations are in fact quite adulterated or contaminated, and they also have very active forms of the starting compounds. For example, they also have heavy metals, a lot of toxic herbs, on top of the vehicle which they use to make it. For example, that's mostly alcohol. So you end up with heavy metal poisoning or herbal toxicity along with alcohol poisoning. And these are the groups of patients that we have very thoroughly evaluated and published on. Now, every time we publish a paper or talk about homeopathy online or on social media. A few months later, me or members of my group receive letters from the government or the regulatory body, the ministry, or some homeopathy company or a homeopathy organization, challenging us to prove what we have been saying all this while, and just to harass us. And I'm sure this video would probably receive a letter of concern from somebody, some regulatory body or a homeopathy company or an organization. But that's not the matter, because ultimately this is what the truth is, and this is what people need to hear. So the whole aspect of no effect, no side effect is also harmful, because imagine you're giving such a formulation to somebody who really needs treatment for a particular disease. For example, imagine that particular person has diabetes, and you need to control diabetes well to prevent end organ damage, and then you put them on homeopathy, and then essentially they're not getting anything out of it, and then the diabetes worsens and you end up with organ damage. So that way, classical homeopathy can harm by not able to give realistic treatment to the patient. And in the other way, that is, when homeopathy practitioners and homeopathy companies realize that their products are utter nonsense and they don't contain anything, they usually adulterate or contaminate or make active formulations out of them. So those are those proprietary formulations that you see. So some of these formulations can even have dead animal parts. So if you look at this formulation known as Philocough or Blata orientalis mother tincture, you can actually see that it's cockroach in alcohol. So basically they dissolve large numbers of cockroach in alcohol, and then they clear out that suspension, and that is what is being given as a cough syrup or a remedy for cough in homeopathy. It's absurd. But you'll see, you can just go online and type in and say Blata orientalis homeopathy or Philocough homeopathy, and you can actually see that these contains dead cockroach parts in alcohol, along with other herbs, of course. So the whole aspect of homeopathy, no effect to no side effect, is also changing to homeopathy has some effect, and those effects are actually all side effects. It's not beneficial effects. So the next time you want to actually look at homeopathy as one of the treatment options that you would want to give yourself or somebody in your family or a friend, please think of it as a disservice to that person, the family or the society, because ultimately, intentionally or unintentionally, what you are doing is preventing that person from getting real treatment, medical science, scientific treatment. If you need to know more on homeopathy, there are a lot of scientific articles which have already shown that homeopathy does not work in any way. I mean, forget about how it works. There are still articles looking at what homeopathy is even now, even after its 300 years of existence on this earth. If you ask a homeopathy practitioner, how does Blata orientalis or cockroach work for cough? He'll give you the lamest explanation, which possibly can become the next Netflix series or a stand-up comedy. If you ask a homeopathy practitioner how diluted heavy metals, so for example, arsenicum album, which was given for COVID, how does that actually prevent COVID from happening or prevent any viral disease or a flu per se, because they use that as their kind of vaccination, these diluted heavy metals. They will not be able to give you a straight answer because they themselves don't know what they are practicing. So homeopathy is, like a religion, and homeopaths are stuck inside a cult, and they have no escape. So there is no point in telling all of this to the homeopathy practitioner, because they are not going to change. They need to have their bread and butter. They need to survive. So they will keep selling the deceit and defraud people. But as public, as patients and as patients' families, you should understand that homeopathy gives no benefits for anyone. It is a massive waste of time and energy. It is an enormous waste of public fund, taxpayers' money, and it largely treats or cures diseases that can get cured on its own without the need for homeopathy. So on this Homeopathy Day, World Homeopathy Day, please remember that homeopathy is not actual science or medicine, and practitioners do not know how to treat or cure diseases. Until next time, take care and thank you.